My name is Kelly Earle. I'm the Senior Vice President of Corporate Development for Skeena Resources. Skeena is a TSX and New York Stock Exchange listed development stage mining company with the past producing Eskay Creek mine, which is located in Tahltan Territory in the Golden Triangle of Northwest British Columbia. And we're looking at having that into production by the end of 2025.
Kelly, lovely to see you. Now, you're on the road, so you've made a little bit of time for us. Where are you?
I am at the one-to-one event in Singapore right now. They've found a lovely little quiet room for me because it's quite busy and loud on the floor.
I bet. Hey, so obviously conferences up and running again. That's good news. Are investors there?
Investors are here. So it's our second time in Singapore. I think the first time Skeena came, it was pre-SKE. We were a little bit too small. When you're traveling in the Asian markets, you have to be a little bit closer to production, I found. So yes, I think we're at the perfect size to appeal to more Asian investors now that we're heading into the development side. And there are investors at this conference, which is exciting.
Well, yeah, that's what you want. That's what you pay for, right? So you just put out the PFS and you've also raised some money. And I kind of want to focus on those two things. I think we talked before, we're going to see you when you get back to base and we can get into the weeds then. But for now, short and sweet, feasibility study, give me the highlights.
Sure. So feasibility study, we're extremely proud of. That came out in September at $1,700 gold and $1,900 silver, $1.4 billion after-tax NPV at a 5% discount, 1-year payback, 50% IRR, $293 million annual after-tax free cash flow. It is an extraordinarily robust project, and that's because we have nearly 4 million open pittable ounces at just under 4 grams per ton gold equivalent. So very high grade for an open pit mine.
Right, so those numbers are good, but the numbers that people are looking at the moment, certainly a lot of the inbound to us, is around financing. Tough market of precious metals this year, possibly longer, and raising money right now feels expensive. So why the timing that you've gone for now?
Sure. So we just closed $30 million, which I'd like to say was twice oversubscribed, which is always what you want to see. The reason, the timing now, we had to buy back a 0.5% NSR from Barrick. So we could buy back 0.5% NSR for $17.5 million. So we raised the money to help buy back. Also a little bit of cushion. We're uncertain about the markets in the future, what's going to happen. So we thought we'd raise a little bit more just to be cautious. And the nice thing about us buying back the 0.5% NSR for $17.5 million is we have already sold a right of first refusal to Franco-Nevada for a guaranteed minimum of $22.5 million. So we've already made $5 million on the NSR, and we have the ability to auction off that NSR for another year still until October of next year to see if we can get more than the $22.5 million. So that's exciting. We raise money now to make more money in the future.
Okay, so there's a quick win for you there on paper, right? But what else are you going to do with this? Because the feasibility study is one thing and the numbers look good, which is great. But you got to kind of move this thing through the phases now in a tough environment. Will there be another raise coming up anytime soon?
No, so this should take, we've got about $50 million in the bank before, and then $17.5 million out to buy the NSR. No, this should take us through to project financing. So we're looking at announcing our financing package in the spring of next year so we can start construction next summer. And we would like to see this raise take us through to that. Now, I never say never. If drill results are good, we might do a flow through financing so that we can keep the drills turning. We just had some spectacular results within the pit, turning waste into ore. So if that keeps going, we could do another flow through financing, but we're not going to go back to the discount to market to do straight equity. We don't need to. This can see us through to our project financing package, which will be next spring.
Right. Okay. So obviously, clearly, you've got retail shareholders nervous about dilution. You've explained there's a quick win, and you're moving the project along. However, it's a tough environment out there. Your feasibility study is new and fresh. Are you concerned at all about continuing inflationary costs and what that may do to your CapEx
Sure.
in a year's time?
So our CapEx right now is $451 million US, and it's very modest for a project that gets you 352,000 gold equivalent ounces per year. And that is because we are a brownfield site, and that's what helps us keep inflation down on the construction side. So we have a construction camp that can house 220 people. We have an already permitted tailing storage facility that can handle all the tailings and all the potentially acid generating waste rock in our mine plan. We have roads to site. There's a hydroelectric facility 17 kilometers away that we only have to build a substation to. All of these things, because it's a brownfield site, helps to keep the cost of things down in an inflationary environment like we're in right now.
Right. Okay. We talked about quick wins, but what are the things that may hold you up between now and 2025 production?
So, I mean, I guess the one thing we always hear about is permitting in British Columbia. It's a very thorough process. It's a very certain process once you get through it, but it can take some time. Skeena has done everything we can with our First Nations and government relations. We started the BC Regional Mining Alliance. Our First Nations partners, the Tahltan, are actually investors in Skeena. So I would say that's the one thing, one of the things we worry about is permitting and the timelines and making sure we can keep everybody on target. Our impact benefits agreement with the Tahltan should be signed shortly. Will be the first project in British Columbia with full First Nations consent, which is also extremely exciting. So we truly feel as a team we've done what we can there, but that's always, when something's out of your hands, it's a little uncertain. So that's one of the things we're worried about. And I guess the other would just be the price of gold. But that being said, this is such a high grade project, it would still work at $1,200 gold.
Right. Okay. And you kind of given us some thoughts around the potential of what else you could do in terms of increasing the value of this, because your share price, like many precious metal companies, has been under a lot of pressure in the last 12 months. Whatever you do, whatever companies do, doesn't seem to get much recognition in the market at the moment. So is it a case of you'll rein back on some of that sort of blue sky exploratory component, or any other these development activities that you may have been thinking about?
It's a good question. I think on the development side, yes, we'll rein things in. On the exploration side, no. So we were actually going to batten down the hatches for the winter, and then we had a spectacular hit, 48 grams over 12 meters in the pit. It actually turned waste into ore. Once we saw that, saw the potential, saw market reaction, yes, the market actually reacted positively to that. We thought, this is silly. We have a spectacular project. We've got time to build it. We've got money to drill it off with. We can always do another flow through if we need to. Let's grow this and see just how big we can make Eskay Creek, because we have done nearly all infill drilling for the last 2.5 years. We've barely scratched the surface of the exploration potential at Eskay Creek.
Right. And what's the kind of feedback from investors that you have been speaking to so far? You said it's a good turnout, and it's obviously it's a new investor audience for you. What are they looking for? What are the projects that are going to excite them, and what more do they want from you?
So Eskay Creek is definitely a project that excites them. To hear that we're going into development, but at the same time we're drilling, we're going to be putting a new resource update out in the first half of next year. We're going to be putting an updated feasibility study out at the second half of next year to show them that we can do permitting and development hand in hand with growing the resource all together. That makes them excited. That, we all know the Lassonde curve when you go down into development, and we're hoping to try and avoid that with the exciting exploration that we have. So that's what they're looking at. Permitting certainty is something else they're looking for. This is what I've heard a lot, and Skeena's been working very hard on that with our First Nations and government partners, as I've said. I'd say those are the two biggest things. What's going to happen to your share price, and also please make sure you announce a complete project financing package. We don't want to see you get caught down the road with not enough money to do the final build. So we're keeping that in mind, and we'll definitely add a buffer to our financing package we announce in the spring.
Okay, and let's talk about what would your message to shareholders, current shareholders, be, given where this kind of dip in the market, given you're now fully financed, and given what you've just announced with the feasibility study, how long have they got to wait for some upside?
Yeah, so if I could predict the markets, that would be wonderful. But I would say Skeena's got our heads down right now. We are looking to build this mine. We have everything in place we need. The permitting side of things coming together. We just brought Randy Reichert, our new president, on board from B2 Gold, where he was the VP of operations. We have a very strong team that can build. We have a very strong permitting team. We have a very strong geological team. We are going to build this project, and we are going to keep growing it along the way. So there's a lot of upside left to come in Skeena, that's for sure.
Right, Kelly. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Short and punchy. You're at a conference. You've got people to see, places to go, but you promised you'd come back and see us, and maybe we'll get into the weeds then, okay? Have a great conference.
Thanks very much. Bye, everyone.